Breaking news! Cincinnati Bengals fans finally got something they've been waiting for all off-season. Actual football conversations coming directly from inside the building. And after everything this team has been through over the last few months, the energy around these voluntary workouts feels completely different right now. There's real confidence coming out of Cincinnati. There's excitement. There's curiosity. And honestly, there's also a little bit of tension surrounding a few key names that everybody is watching closely. But the biggest thing? Joe Burrow sounds like a quarterback who genuinely believes this roster might be the best group he's had since arriving in Cincinnati. And when your franchise quarterback starts talking like that publicly, people listen. Before we go any further, if you love daily Bengals coverage and want updates all off-season long, make sure you subscribe because things are only starting to heat up now. We're entering that part of the year where every practice clip, every quote, every player appearance starts telling a bigger story about what this team could become. And trust me, Bengals fans are going to want to follow every second of it. Now, let's get to what everybody is talking about. Joe Burrow finally sat down and spoke publicly about football again. And the reaction around Cincinnati was immediate. Not because of some dramatic statement, not because of controversy, but because of the confidence in his voice when discussing the roster the Bengals now have in place. The quote that exploded everywhere was simple but powerful. Burrow said, "This is the most talented roster the Bengals have had since he's been there." Think about that for a second. That's not some random throwaway line. That's Joe Burrow evaluating every roster he's played with in Cincinnati and saying this current group stands above all of them in terms of talent. Fans immediately started comparing past Bengals rosters in their heads. They started thinking about previous defensive groups, former offensive pieces, veteran contributors, and all the different combinations this team has had during Burrow's era. Yet despite all of that, Burrow believes this roster is the strongest one. And honestly, the timing of that comment matters too. The Bengals front office took a lot of criticism from fans and media throughout different parts of the offseason. There were questions, doubts, concerns about whether Cincinnati had done enough. But according to Burrow, the organization answered those concerns aggressively through off-season additions and moves that clearly impressed him. He specifically talked about the front office going out and making things happen. That's important because when your quarterback publicly supports the work done by the organization, it changes the tone around the team completely. The feeling coming out of these workouts right now doesn't sound negative at all. In fact, the overall vibe sounds extremely positive. Burrow reportedly carried himself with the exact kind of energy Bengals fans wanted to hear. There was no uncertainty in his comments, no hesitation, no weird mixed messaging. It sounded like a quarterback who fully believes the Bengals should now be competing at the highest level possible. And then came another fascinating part of his media session. Burrow reportedly talked openly about expectations for the upcoming season, including winning games, winning the Super Bowl, and even the possibility of winning MVP while chasing team passing records and touchdown records. Again, that matters. Because sometimes during the offseason, players give generic answers. They stay cautious. They avoid putting expectations out publicly. But Burrow didn't sound like someone trying to lower expectations. He sounded like someone embracing them. The message was basically this: the Bengals have done the work building the roster. Now it's time for the players to go make it happen on the field. And Bengals fans can probably relate to that feeling right now. There's legitimate excitement surrounding this group entering the season. You can hear it in the conversations. You can feel it around the team. Even these voluntary workouts suddenly feel more meaningful because of the names showing up and the overall atmosphere around the building. But of course, not every storyline this week has been entirely smooth. One of the most discussed topics involved Trey Hendrickson. Burrow was asked about him and reportedly admitted he was not surprised Trey left. Now, naturally, some fans immediately started analyzing every word of that comment. Was it shade? Was there hidden meaning? Was Burrow trying to say something deeper? But from the context surrounding the discussion, it really sounded more like Burrow simply understands Trey's personality and how he operates. Burrow also reportedly said he loved Trey, which makes it feel far less dramatic than some people tried to make it online. Still, the reality of the situation is unavoidable. The Bengals are now going to see Trey Hendrickson twice every year, and that's going to feel strange for a lot of fans. Every sack, every pressure, every big play against Cincinnati is going to generate headlines. That's just the reality of a player of his caliber moving elsewhere. But interestingly, the overall feeling coming from inside the discussion wasn't panic or regret. It was more like acceptance. The focus now appears centered on the current roster and the players who are actually inside the building preparing for the season. And speaking of players inside the building, one of the biggest conversations right now surrounds Ja'Marr Chase. According to reports from these voluntary workouts, Ja'Marr Chase has not been present because he's training on his own away from Cincinnati. Now, immediately, people started reacting emotionally to that news. Some fans don't care at all because these workouts are voluntary. Others wish their superstar receiver was in the building alongside the rest of the core players. And honestly, both reactions are understandable. Because here's the thing. Many of the Bengals' biggest names are reportedly there right now. Joe Burrow is there. Higgins is there. Other major names are participating around the facility. So naturally, fans noticed when Ja'Marr Chase wasn't included in that group. But at the same time, there's no indication of any issue. No contract drama, no conflict, no reported problems whatsoever. The situation simply appears to be Chase training independently during this phase of the off-season. And honestly, there's another detail here that probably calms some people down. The discussion specifically referenced what happened with Chase previously, when there actually was contract-related tension surrounding his off-season participation. Even during that situation, Chase still went out and produced at an elite level afterward. That's why some people around the team seem completely relaxed about this current situation. The belief is that Ja'Marr Chase knows how to prepare himself. He knows how to get ready for the season. And unless this absence extends into more important mandatory portions of the offseason, many fans probably won't view it as a major concern. Still, it's absolutely a conversation Bengals fans are having right now. Should he be there? Would you prefer seeing him in the building alongside Burrow and Higgins? Or does it genuinely not matter to you because these workouts remain voluntary? That debate is definitely happening all across the fan base right now. Meanwhile, another encouraging development involved Higgins. Reports indicated Higgins has been present inside the building during workouts, even if he wasn't fully participating in drills. And honestly, that still matters. Veteran presence matters. Leadership matters. Being around younger players matters. Even when a player isn't actively doing every drill, simply being inside the facility, interacting with teammates, and staying connected with the group carries value during this time of year. Then there's Dexter Lawrence. Ever since arriving in Cincinnati, there's reportedly been constant visibility around his work ethic and involvement with the team. During these workouts, he apparently even received a rest day, which tells you how active he's already been during this phase of preparation. But one of the coolest details involving Lawrence had nothing to do with physical drills. Reports mentioned that while he wasn't fully participating at one point, he was actively helping teammates through different drills and working alongside other players during practice situations. That's the kind of detail coaches and teammates notice immediately. Leadership doesn't always show up through stats. Sometimes it shows up through engagement, communication, and helping teammates improve during off-season work. And from the sounds of it, Lawrence is already trying to establish himself as part of the culture inside the building. Another really interesting development involved Eric All Jr. According to reports, he participated in portions of tight end drills and was seen catching passes from Joe Burrow. That may not sound huge on the surface, but considering everything he's dealt with physically, simply being back on the field participating at all feels significant. Bengals fans have clearly been waiting to see him healthy and active again, and seeing him involved in drills during this phase of the offseason was viewed as a very positive sign. And that's really the overall theme emerging from Cincinnati right now. Optimism. Not fake hype. Not manufactured excitement. Just genuine optimism based on the atmosphere around the building, the comments from Burrow, and the participation level from many core players currently inside the facility. Of course, the off-season calendar is still important here. The Bengals are currently moving through voluntary workout phases before transitioning into OTAs in early June and eventually mandatory minicamp later in June. That's when people will really start paying closer attention to attendance and participation. Voluntary workouts are one thing. Mandatory activities are another. And it sounds like many people expect Ja'Marr Chase to eventually appear during those upcoming team periods anyway. But right now, the biggest takeaway is pretty simple. Joe Burrow sounds excited. The roster sounds energized. Key players are showing up. Young players are getting integrated. And the confidence level inside Cincinnati appears much higher than it did earlier in the offseason. Now, the question becomes whether all these positive off-season vibes can eventually translate into results once the games actually begin. Because expectations around this team are clearly rising again. But I want to hear from Bengals fans now. Do you agree with Joe Burrow that this is the most talented Bengals roster of his era? And how do you feel about Ja'Marr Chase training away from the team during voluntary workouts? Let me know what you think, because this fan base definitely seems split on that conversation right now. And before you go, if you're excited about where this Bengals team is heading, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. We're going to be covering every single update, every practice report, every roster move, and every big storyline all the way through the off-season and into the season. If you don't want to miss the latest Bengals news the second it drops, this is the place to be. Join the community, sound off in the comments, and let's talk Bengals football together all year long. Who Dey?